Greetings. Before I begin this presentation, I would first like to introduce myself. My name is Brittany Karen Joseph with the student number 23. Here in this video, I will present an article written by Lloyd Chekima and Jason Min Hua Lim with the title Hedging in Academic Writing, a Pedagogically Motivated Qualitative Study. Now, to begin with, I'll start with the purpose of this study. This study aims to explore the use of hedges in academic writing based on Hyland's 1996 pragmatic framework of hedging orientations. The corpus comprises 30 randomly selected research article discussions from between 2010 to 2014 from the Journal of English for Academic Purposes. The analysis reveals that a repertoire of lexical signals and hedging strategies have been used to realize different hedging orientations employed in the corpus. Now, as for the introduction, Lakoff in 1972 introduced the notion of hedges into linguistics by defining them as words whose job is to make things fuzzier or less fuzzy. Hyland stated that in academic writing, hedges imply then that a statement is based on plausible reasoning rather than curtained knowledge and allow readers the freedom to dispute it, in which writers are attempting to present a paper with conviction to consider the role of the reader in confirming knowledge. And in doing so, hedges enable writers to appropriately modulate their claims as well as to give room for the reader to participate in a dialogue. Hyland also stated that the appropriate use of hedging devices poses considerable problems for second language speakers, even when they have good proficiencies in both grammar and lexis of English. Consequently, second language learners are so direct in their English academic prose that it is often deemed to be inappropriate by native speakers. Wisnov said that such directness is also attributed to students' failure in acquiring second language pragmatic fluency to convey meaning. Now, in this case, we will explore the linguistic realizations of hedges in academic writing using Hyland's categorization of hedging devices to elicit views of academics on the use of hedges in academic writing. Here are the research questions in the present study. There are 4 research questions. First, we have what are the linguistic realizations of the 4 categories of hedging devices in the selected discussion sections of English research articles? Second, how do informants perceive the use of hedges in academic writing? Third, what are the possible reasons for second language learners' inability to modulate claims in their academic prose? And fourth, what are the pedagogical implications of the present study? Now we'll go to the methodology. Hyland stated that as far as non-factive statements are concerned, then hedging functions can be divided into 2 main categories, which are content-oriented, that includes accuracy-oriented and attribute-oriented and reliability, and writer-oriented. Now first, content-oriented help writers present claims with precisions relating to the terms used to describe real-world phenomena and signal reservations in the truth of a claim to limit the professional damage which might result from bold propositions. While on the other hand, reader-oriented give deference and recognition to reader to avoid unacceptable overconfidence. Alright, now we'll move on to findings and discussions. There are 4 findings of discussions here. First, we have the writer-oriented hedges. Writer-oriented hedges refer to the relationship between a claim and a writer, and not a relationship between propositional elements. In the corpus, Writer-oriented hedges are linguistically realized by impersonal subjects such as epithemic speculative verbs, and then passive constructions, and reference to a wider bodies of knowledge through the use of non-integral citations. Now here are the examples. First we have the epistemic speculative verbs the in the sentence that I pulled here. So we can see, first we have the following sections will discuss the findings in light of the precious research and suggest potential future revenues for language pedagogy and policy. And second, we have the passive construction. This again can be discussed in relation to the threshold hypothesis. And third, we have the reference with non-integral citations. Clearly, vocabulary teaching itself is only one of the 4 strands language courses should include. We can see the citation in here, Nation on 2008. So here is the use of writer-oriented hedges. Next, we have the attribute-oriented hedges. Attribute-oriented hedges are used to express claims with precision by keeping interpretations close to the findings. The realizations are adverbs, which is used to indicate the degree of precision, such as partially and somewhat, and it is also used to weaken the force of an attribute of a phenomenon. While on the other hand, we also have style disjuncts, such as generally. It is used to display a greater precision in providing explanations for a finding. Now here are the examples. First we have the adverbs, as we can see in the bold sentence. Now a larger point here is that cognitive energy normally used in a non-digital environment for lexical searches and formulating spelling and grammar was at least partially replaced by blah blah blah. Now second, we have the style disjuncts, as we can see here. They all use superscript numbers in their text to indicate referencing, which, as Maria noted, was something they learned as generally required in the homework. Now this is the use of attribute-oriented hedges. Now we have the reliability-oriented hedges. Reliability-oriented hedges are used by writers to indicate the writer's confidence in the truth of a proposition. The realizations could be in modal verbs, for example like may, or it could be in adverbs of certainty, which weaken the force of an attribute. For example, is like likely, and evidential verbs like seems. Now the realizations are illustrated below with examples from the corpus. First we have the example for the modal verbs. One may criticize that the listing has undergone various stages of filtering and blah blah blah. And one second, we have the use of adverbs of certainty and evidential verbs. As we can see here, our study seems to support the notion that blah blah blah, and undergraduate students are likely to pay more attention to tutor feedback on their own writing than to blah blah blah. Here is the example of reliability-oriented hedges. And lastly, we have reader-oriented hedges. Reader-oriented hedges are employed to mark claims as professionals and give room for the readers to involve in a dialogue. The realizations could be in the form of first-person pronouns, like the use of we. And then adverbs are sentence modifiers, like arguably. And then hypothetical conditionals, like if. And last, the contrastive connectors, like however. Now these examples are presented below. First we have the use of first-person pronouns and sentence modifiers. As we can see in this holds true, even if we take into account the omitted interactionals, self-mentions, and engagement markers. Arguably, the interactional markers are not equally distributed, blah blah blah. And second, we have English native speakers are also only an option if they hold a degree in the subject they need to teach. And last, we have a word of caution is, however, due here since the explicit teaching of blah blah blah. So here it's the reader-oriented hedges. Alright, as we can see from the examples previously, we can say that a repertoire of lexical signals and hedging strategies have been used to realize the four categories of hedges. This suggests that hedging is a salient feature of academic discourse. Now, according to Highland, second language writers need to have control over this feature of academic discourse so that they are able to use language with subtlety to mean precisely and with discrimination. Other than acquiring a full understanding on the linguistic knowledge of hedging devices in academic writing, it is best to consider both social and institutional contexts in it. Now, as the conclusion, in this paper we have explored the realization of hedges in the sample English research article discussion based on Highland's pragmatic framework. And we all know that the findings suggest that generally the use of hedges in second language student academic writing is critical since it displays claims that have been appropriately managed for accuracy and claim negotiation. They point out an important pedagogical implication in English for academic purposes classroom, but however, to convey statement with tentativeness, one also requires socio-pragmatic awareness in the second language. A second language learner can be first introduced to the four categories of hedges, which are the writer-oriented, attribute-oriented, reliability-oriented, and reader-oriented hedges. This attempt is in line with Smith's study suggestion that learners be given relevant input of foreign language acquisition. Alright, I think that was all for this presentation. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys have a great time learning. See you!